Hi, my name is Tom, and today I want to talk to you about something different. Not a camera, not a lens filter. This time I'm going to talk about a plugin. In this case, it's for Final Cut, but it's available for most editing programs. And you might have heard of it. It's called Dehancer or Dehancer Pro, which is the version I'm going to show you today. And it's pretty cool. You know what I do, you know what I like. I want to chase the cinematic look. That's why I do all these filter reviews and all this other stuff. And yeah, sometimes it's also good to get the film look not in camera, but really nail it afterwards in the editing system. So you can really dial in all the settings and make it look believable and cinematic, which is the famous word for it. And in this case, Dehancer reached out to me. So full disclosure, I'm reviewing the product. In exchange, I'll get a full license key, and I can also provide you with a discount code, which will pop up on the screen right now. And yeah, this is a really, really cool plugin. So let's take a look. Okay, so now we're in Final Cut, and I'm gonna just use this footage right here. It's actually from a new camera I've just got. It's test footage from the Lumix S5, just filming some outside stuff. And this clip right here, I think, will be a good example to showcase how the footage will be impacted by the plugin. As you can see, there's some shadows here, some nice glow and reflections from the lights, glow on the skin. Some light leaks, stuff like that, and this is all stuff that the program can work with and really introduce a very filmic look to it. So we're going to just use that as an example. So let's drag in the plugin. I'm going to choose Dehancer Pro. I just drag it on. You can also just use an adjustment layer, but in this case we're just going to do it like that. And the first thing we're going to do, I mean, as you can see, there's a billion options right here, and in the beginning this felt quite overwhelming. It still is in a way, but I managed to understand most of the stuff that is here, and I'm just going to try to explain it to you. I'm not going to go through all the options because, as you can see, this is a lot of stuff, but yeah, we're just going to try to make it look good. Okay, first thing we'll do is choose our camera, and as I said, it's the Panasonic S5, and this program only offers me the Lumix S5 II, which is close enough, and we're going to choose Vlog. It actually says Vlog L for some reason, which means Vlog Lite, which is definitely not what my camera records in, but it's probably just a spelling mistake. It works fine, so we're going to use that. And as you can see, this already changed a lot, but we still have green tint and it just doesn't look very good. So the first thing we'll do, we're not going to mess with the exposure and tint and stuff like that. I already did that before I dragged on the plugin in Final Cut. So the first thing we'll do is change the profile. And for this, I'm going to choose Fujichrome Velvia 50. I actually like that one a lot. And when I click on it, you will see why. This already, to me, looks very cinematic, very film-like. And yeah, you can leave it like that basically, and it's not gonna be a look that nobody likes. So you can click off the video now if you just want this, but if you want to go deeper into it and change a lot of other things, then keep on listening and keep on watching. The next thing I'm going to show you is, I'm just going to go through it one by one, but I'm not going to mess with everything. Film developer, we're going to not mess with that at all. It's already not enabled by default, so it's probably a good idea to just leave it alone. Maybe that's completely wrong, but so far I haven't really messed with that. Film compression, we don't really need to mess with that at all as well. Expand, I'm just gonna leave it everything as is. The next thing, that's an important one, it's the print profile. And what that means is when you work with actual film, the actual celluloid, it needs to be printed on something. And that's a very big part of the process of like making a film and stuff like that. So we're just gonna use codec 2383, which is one of the standard print film ones. You can use Fujifilm, you can use codec, and you can even use the glossy paper. I don't even know what that stuff means, let me be honest. I'm gonna use this one because, as you can see, this introduces a lot of contrast and already gives it a very cinematic look. As you can see, the shadows and all that stuff, it just changes something. It makes it really, you just developed film and printed it and now you're showing it in the cinema. So this is how I interpret it. There's probably more to it, but I can't really explain it to you. So we're just gonna leave everything as is. We can increase the color density actually if we want to. I'm just gonna do it right now, and as you can see, this will make everything pop out even more. If I drag it out, you can see the skin gets a little more pale and stuff like that, which is also a look. I mean, there's films that definitely look like that, but I'm just gonna actually just push it all the way to 100 because it looks nice. And the next thing I'm gonna do, what is this? Color head. Yeah, we're not gonna mess with that at all. This one is important, film grain. And what it does, the first thing I'm gonna change is, as you can see, there's a lot of grain. And to me, this looks a lot like just an overlay. And this is something that I actually don't really like with a lot of these film emulation plugins and stuff like that. But when you change this film type to positive, as you can see, it integrates very nicely into the footage. It feels baked in, it feels like actual film grain. And now when I play it back, I'm just gonna try to show it to you. Could be a bit choppy now because I haven't actually rendered it. How am I gonna do this? Go back to fitting, and yeah, when I play it, you can see it integrates very nicely. You can still see the grain, it's still there, but it's baked into the footage, just like how real film would do it. And yeah, this is like really what I think separates this program from a lot of other programs, because this really looks like it's integrated into the actual footage. So let's back out of here. We're gonna leave everything else as is. The only thing I want to show you is the film resolution. And that's actually a very important part. If you put this back to 100, this will basically make your image as sharp as it was when you shot it with your digital camera. And that's not how film looks, basically, from what I understand. I mean, film is very high resolution. I mean, it doesn't even have a resolution because it's not shot on pixels. But when you see all these 4K restorations of old movies, they are sharp, they are high quality, but they still have a certain softness to it. And I don't really know how to describe it. I'm going to say that sentence a lot for this program. I don't really know how to describe a lot of these options, but you just know that film has a certain softness to it. So I would actually leave it at 50 for this one. You can go down even more and then it's going to be even softer. As you can see, it's a very subtle change. It's not going to be a huge difference, but I'm just going to leave it at 50, which will introduce a bit of softness, but you don't go overboard with it. It still looks like a modern shot film, but shot on film. So let's go to the next option, and that's halation and bloom. And I thought that this would be the same thing, honestly. You heard me say halation and bloom a lot in my older videos, and I basically just used those words interchangeably. I didn't really know there's a big difference, but turns out there is. Halation, what that is basically it introduces this red fringing of stuff, like when something that reflects separates from the red channels and you have this kind of red glow around everything. I'm just going to show you how it looks. When I enable it, you can see a small change, but it's not big, which is good, I guess. I mean, you don't want it to be a huge thing, but I'm just gonna zoom in a bit again and just look here at the shoulders maybe, and we're just gonna increase it to a lot. Local diffusion, global diffusion, and as you can see, there is this red glow I'm talking about, this weird separation of the colors, and yeah, even this intense, I'm gonna say it still looks really cool, but that's obviously way too much. And this is what we have to be very careful with this program. You can go really crazy with a lot of stuff, and I mean, it's cool that you can do it, but you can really lose yourself in this program and just go all out crazy, and then everything is gonna look like this. Like, it looks cool, but it looks like a dream sequence or something shot on a Super 8 camera or something like that, which is a look, but most of the time it's not really what you want. So we're just gonna reset all that, and I mean, we can increase it a little bit if we want, but again, just be subtle. Oh, I didn't have it enabled. Again, just be subtle with it. Something like this, for example. For this example, I'm just gonna not mess with it at all. We're gonna reset it, and yeah, maybe I just leave it enabled on these settings, so it will be there for certain parts, but it's not gonna be like in your face. And that's a very important thing in filmmaking. Be subtle, don't do too much, because it's gonna be too much. Next thing, which I thought was the same, is bloom, and that is actually the stuff that a lot of the lens diffusion filters do, which I made tons of videos about in the past. So when I enable this will introduce a huge change, so be ready. As you can see, you have this nice glow of things, and to me, this looks really good. It looks really good, but also it's a bit much. So we're just gonna play it back in the window. I'm just gonna press play, and it's already a bit choppy because this program does a lot and it's very intensive on your PC or on your Mac. So it's gonna do crazy things in the background. So keep that in mind. You're not gonna be able to play back your footage on most machines, and you have to render before you can really view it. But I think this gets the point across. As you can see, this looks really good, and I pretty much like it as it is. But of course, you can amplify everything, you can increase the diffusion, stuff like that. You can reduce it, and it will all look very cool. But for now, to showcase it, because I always like glow, I mean, I already shot this with Black Promist filter, so this increased it by a lot. So I should probably just reduce everything a bit, but just as an example, I'm just gonna leave it like that because I really like how this looks, and it kind of looks like a dream sequence. But yeah, we all need dream sequences sometimes, so we're just gonna leave this as it is. And the next thing would be a vignette. I mean, we pretty much all know what that is probably. I'm just gonna enable it, and as you can see, enable, disable, you can see the corners will get darkened a bit, and this helps you focus on the subject. But it's not really needed in this case, I think. And yeah, I honestly rarely use any vignettes, so if you want to use it, you have it integrated into this program also, which is cool, but not really an important part. Next thing would be film breath, and this is actually something I haven't really figured out yet. It only shows up, I'm gonna enable it quickly, but I don't think you're gonna be able to see it. When you play the footage, you might be able to see something. But yeah, even so, it's very subtle, and you should leave it subtle. This basically introduces a certain flicker to the footage, which is something that happens when you film something with actual film cameras. And yeah, I don't actually know if I want that in my footage. If you leave it like this, it's not going to be very apparent, it's not going to be in your face, so you could probably leave it like that. To me, what this program really does well is giving you all these options that do small changes, and all that stuff combined, this will give you the cinematic look. But having everything at 100% and stuff like that, it will just look weird. So just be careful with all these options. I'm just going to leave it as it is. Or I'm just going to disable it actually, and I'm going to show you gate weave, and that's actually an important part, I think, and you should definitely enable it. And as you can see, it crops in on your footage just a little bit, but what it does is it introduces a certain shakiness to the footage. And real film, it goes through like mechanics and stuff like that, so it's always shaky. And you probably saw that at some point when you saw like an old movie, or not even old movie, a movie that's just shot on film by Tarantino or someone like that. When you see the credits just behind the black background and you see the white letters, they shake a bit. They always shake a bit, and that's the gate weave that we're talking about. So it's never a static picture. There's always some movement to everything. And this is the kind of stuff like nobody is gonna really notice it, but in the back of your head, you're still gonna add it to your brain when you watch a movie and stuff like that. And this is the stuff that really does the magic, in my opinion, to really sell you that film look. So we're just gonna leave it enabled. And yeah, that's pretty much it already. We have here the monitor stuff, so you can do your false color and check if everything is exposed correctly. Output, I'm not going to mess with that at all. It doesn't really make sense to use it in my opinion, because this is just going to change all the settings you just did. It's going to turn them down or up, and yeah, this makes no sense. So just ignore that, I guess. Next thing would be a LUT generator. This is really cool because this will you will be able to just export everything that you just changed and put it onto a LUT. It's not gonna mess with gate weave and halation and stuff like that, because that is more than just colors and like changes to the picture. It's like actual like animations and stuff like that. So you're not gonna be able to put that into a LUT. So kind of helpful, but it's not gonna be like the plug and play thing that you then have once you just dialed in your settings. So but it will help you with all the color stuff, so that's cool. Let me hide that again because I'm actually getting confused now. Oh yeah, and this is just the license info. You can check for profiles, for all your camera profiles and stuff like that. Yeah, and that's pretty much a walkthrough of this program. And as you can see, let me just go to the beginning, and I'm gonna disable it for now, and then you can see the huge difference we made. So this is just the log footage, and this is the end result. And yeah, I probably overdid it a bit with the bloom, but in this case, I like it. So we're just gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna try to play it, but it's probably not going to be very smooth, but I think it gets the point across. Yeah, I definitely overdid the bloom, but who cares? It looks cool. So yeah. Hope that helped you out, and yeah, let's go back to my face, and I'm just going to talk about I'm just going to do a summary of the program. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Now let's just talk about the program a bit more and what it offers and what I think about it. And yeah, first of all, I think this is a fantastic product, and you probably could tell from when I showed you the footage and stuff like that. It really introduces a certain magic to the footage that is quite unmatched, especially with the grain that integrates very well into the footage, and all the film stock options and really all the details you can introduce to the footage. It really makes a big difference, and yeah, it's a great tool. But having said all that, let's go into some of the negatives maybe that could be a problem for some people. First of all, this is not a LUT pack, so it's a bit more work to get to where you want. You know, not just gonna slap on the plugin to your footage and it's gonna look amazing instantly. You have to know a lot about all the options. You have to know what you're doing to really use it effectively. And I mean, you just saw the video. After you see a few tutorials, you know how it works and you can work with it quickly. But for a beginning filmmakers and stuff like that, it really is probably a bit too much, because you should probably first learn how to color grade yourself and just buy some LUT packs from your favorite YouTuber before you go into programs that are like this deep. I mean, it's definitely not as deep as like a fully fledged color grading system like DaVinci and stuff like that. But yeah, in the beginning it can be quite overwhelming, and maybe they could simplify this whole thing a bit more by some more presets and stuff like that. I mean, there's already stuff that's enabled by default, stuff that's disabled by default, but maybe go into it a bit more. Give us like a preset that's modern film, 90s film, 80s film, and you just plug and play, drag it onto the footage and it already looks good. Stuff like that could be an option, but right now you're just gonna have to mess with it a bit more, which is great. It's awesome that you have all these options, but keep in mind this is not just something you can drag onto your footage and it's gonna look amazing in the first second. Another potentially bad thing about this plugin is that it's quite taxing on your hardware. I'm using a brand new Mac Mini with an M2 Pro chip, and it worked fine as you saw, but when you play back it got a bit choppy, and this is actually not the usual thing that happens with this machine. I usually go through my footage like butter with like color grading and simple LUTs, but this program obviously does a lot more, and it has to do a lot more processing in the background, so it's no surprise that it's gonna be more hard on your actual PC or Mac. So keep that in mind. If you have an older MacBook or an old PC with an old graphics card and not a lot of RAM, this might be too much for your hardware to handle. And then there's of course the price, which makes it instantly inaccessible to a lot of people, because I mean, as of recording it right now, this program is actually, the fully fledged program is more expensive than Final Cut. So that's a lot to ask. I mean, it is awesome, it does so many things, but that's quite a hefty price. You can mitigate that if you use my code, which will pop up right now hopefully, and you can save 10%, so use that if you want. There's also a light version, there's even a version for the iPhone, there's a version that only focuses on certain aspects, like there's one that only focuses on the halation and stuff like that, so you basically have a digital black promist, so you don't have to buy these expensive filters. And yeah, there are options to save a bit of money, but the full plugin, the full pro version is quite expensive, and there's no way around that. So my overall thoughts are, this is an amazing tool with amazing features, and it's just awesome that you can use all this stuff within Final Cut, which is a program that is very cool in itself and has a lot of options, but this just takes it to a whole nother level. And yeah, I don't have to use DaVinci Resolve and stuff like that. But what I just have to repeat, it's very expensive, and you can, if you want to, do it all for free in DaVinci, or a lot of that stuff you can do in DaVinci, which of course is a lot more complicated and isn't as plug and play and isn't as easy to handle, but you don't really need this program to do a lot of the things it does. There are also a lot of other alternatives to it, like Film Convert and stuff like that, which in my opinion are not as advanced as this program, but they're also not nearly as expensive. So just keep that in mind. If you have the money, if you want to use the best of the best, this in my opinion is it. And yeah, it's such an amazing tool which really elevates your footage to a new level, to a cinematic filmic level, which is something we all chase. If you are subscribed to my channel, you're probably very interested in that. So yeah, I can only recommend it, but keep in mind, if you are new to filmmaking, if you just starting out, and if you don't have a lot of money and stuff like that, focus your spending on other stuff for now. But if you really want to go deeply into that stuff, if you love playing with all this, all these options, which I do, then this is a great program for you, and I can just recommend it. And please use my code. And yeah, that's all I can say about it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. This was kind of a messy setup here. I never filmed myself on my desktop, and I also never used this camera for YouTube, and I already made some mistakes while I watched the monitor and not looked right into the lens. So yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a messy video. I hope the autofocus works, because the Lumix S5 does not have great autofocus, which is something I'm gonna go into in my review as well. But yeah, for now this will be it, and I hope you enjoyed this review or enjoyed this tutorial. And please like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.